Okay, I'll get started. After watching the tape and reviewing this past game, really, we did some really good things. Obviously, I was just a little ticked off after the game. I don't know, just I have a tendency to do that when we do some sloppy things. And so, we have to get some of those critical errors cleaned up. I anticipate our team will work really hard this week to focus on the little details and take better care of the ball security. Defensively, again, it was probably better than I felt. I was just agitated by a few drives that they had, and it was just simply a lack of execution on some younger guys that we got to get cleaned up. Started the game really fast, like we wanted to defensively. I think first four were 3 and outs or 1 and out with the pick six, and then they had a couple drives for field goals that were kind of aggravating. That just with our execution, and those are things that we got to continue to hone in on. Offensively, really felt like we did what we wanted to do, with the exception of some ball security in a few plays. So we got to continue to get better. As I mentioned post game, I felt really good about our team and the way we've been preparing the past several weeks, and I feel like we're on the verge of really getting better in a lot of areas, and we want to do that this week. No better way. It's the last game of the year, so we better get it fixed quick and have a really good opponent, and looking forward to the rivalry game. Big challenge going on the road, and the way they're playing. Certainly with Malik, he is a dynamic playmaker and a guy that can hurt you with his legs and with his arm. And you could see his comfort level. He's getting more and more comfortable with every game, with every opportunity, and that experience is paying off for him. He's really playing exceptionally well and making people around him better. So they're better in all areas than the last time we played them. A good dose of our team. The past 2 classes haven't played Louisville, so this rivalry needs to be introduced to a few of our players that haven't been exposed to it, and it's a totally different team than 2 years ago.
How do you introduce the young guys to the rivalry?
We'll have some ways. We'll show them some things. Yeah.
Is there more excitement in play last year?
Pardon me?
Is there more excitement because you guys
I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully there will be. But again, 2 classes haven't played this game yet, so they don't understand it yet.
It feels like the last couple of times y'all played ACC teams that have been really physical games, really cranked up the physicality. Is that the case where you are emphasizing that more?
Oh, I mean, you said it. I mean, we did it. You know what I mean? But that's not to say that it's gonna happen automatically. You know what I mean? Those were different games. This is a different year. I'll say this is definitely a different team and a different defense than 2 years ago when we played them. And so we'll have to play. We will have to play more physical than we've been, in my opinion. We need to bring out that physicality that we're used to. I still don't feel like we're as physical as we can be. We ran for a lot of yards. We're doing some good things. Teams, as they start mixing it up on us inside, the zone schemes we're getting some penetration, and we're getting stopped. The gap schemes have been very helpful for us. So we got to continue to mix that up.
You thought we introduced any guys to the rivalry. What makes this rivalry any different than any other rivalry that you can have? When you think about Tennessee in particular?
In-state, in-state, very close. So, you can't help but live in Lexington and come across Louisville fans, and you can't help but live in Louisville and come across Kentucky fans. So, it's we're very close in proximity, and we're intertwined in a lot of ways within this state.
Are they different defensively than they were 2 years ago?
They're just more physical. They're better, more comfortable in their system, and which is to you could understand that. And they've done a very good job. They're very well coached, and they're very active up front and doing some good things.
A lot of speculation about what might happen to the schedule when Oklahoma and Texas get here. If the SEC does expand to 9 or 10 games, are you committed to keeping this rivalry game?
I have no idea, John. I mean, I haven't put 1 ounce of thought into that. So, I mean, I don't think I'm prepared to answer that question right now. I mean, we got a lot of things that are right in front of me here.
I don't recall the last time you played Louisville or not, but you played a lot of night games this year, though, and kind of having, it being a rivalry and having the whole day to kind of fester up, what does that do?
Well, it's my understanding they serve alcohol in that stadium, right? So, give some fans plenty of time during the day and during the game. So it'll be a rowdy atmosphere. It always is, no matter what. We have no control of the game time, so.
What about for your guys, though? I know they won't be.
Yeah, it is. It is a little anxious waiting around all day. It is, especially on the road. It's a little different, but it is what it is. We have to adapt and deal with it no matter what.
There's a lot of guys that, I don't know if you call it a recruiting battle, but a lot of guys from the state of Kentucky, and particularly the city of Louisville. How important is this game to continue having success recruiting?
It's important. I don't think it's end-all, be-all, but I think it's important. For us, it's a matter of, we have so many things to play for. Not only is it a rivalry game, and it is what it is. A rivalry game is what it is. You have to address it and understand it and be prepared for it. But for us, there's so many other things that are equally as important every game we play. I believe it's only been 5 teams since 1949 that have won 9 games or more. This team has an opportunity to do it 2 times in the last 4. I think that's pretty important, and more than likely a New Year's Day bowl game. I mean, that's important. So there's a lot of things that our players need to understand the importance of it.
With that in mind, you see some of the shake-up around the nation with coaches that get 3 years, 4 years, and then if something goes south, if they're done. Just do you think about that? Like, just say 2 years,
I addressed that last week a bit when I was asked directly about what I thought of the quick changes. And again, that's not for me to decide. That every place is different, every situation is different. Sometimes things get going in a way that decision makers have no other option. And that's to do with a lot. I think you all and we all can have our own little opinion of why that is. And I mentioned it last week. I think social media and the people that get going, that get some things going in a negative direction. I think it's very hard for decision makers, athletic directors, presidents to handle the momentum sometimes when it gets going the wrong way. So I think I can only imagine as a coach, if you're in that position, if it's that's it's got to be tough. I've been there to some extent, and I don't know any other way than to fight my way out of it. That's just the way I was brought up, and that's the way it is. And if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down. I'm going to hurt you on the way down. Trust me. I'm gonna go down swinging and do the best I can and control what you could control. But a lot of that has to do with your building and the culture in your building, and what the pulse of your building feels like, and that's what the players, coaches, support, everybody. There's a lot that goes into that, and I think that's why you can't just put a blanket over it and say this is right or this is wrong. I mean, every situation is different, and if it's gone to the point, where it's, you can't turn it, then sometimes there are no other options.
Mark, two questions. How close is Marquand to where he was, the level he's at early in the year? And is De'Aaron Jackson back to such an extent you trust him, in high leverage situations?
It was good to see him in that situation Saturday. We never have any doubt about him being a thumper, right? But it's about movement and running too. So you saw him thumping, but you didn't see him quite running and having, the range that you need to play linebacker. So that we need to continue to keep our eye on with D-Jack. And with Marquand, same thing. It was not. It was still bothering him a bit last week, and you could tell by the way he was playing with the way he was anchoring. And hopefully he'll feel better this week.
You mentioned that Malik makes the guys around him better. What about the weapons that he has? Running game,
Yeah.
protecting pass receivers. What about those guys?
Really good, stable running backs that really the offense doesn't change with each of them, and the wideouts are really good players, really productive, and you could tell they have some juice. They have some. They can run, and so they definitely have some weapons around him, and he does such a good job of designed runs or running read plays, zone reads and such, and then buying time to throw the ball down the field, and then of course scrambling for yards. You put the three of those things together on him, and you got your hands full.
You mentioned, Malik's ability to extend plays with his legs, and you guys have got a guy showing that too. It's a matchup that's going to get both kind of defensive staff some real headache.
Yeah, I think it definitely does. Anytime you've heard me for years and years talk about it, and you see it everywhere. And I used to get the question all the time. Well, everybody has a hard time with running quarterbacks. It's not a Kentucky thing. It's a defensive thing. It's a pain in the butt. And guys that can extend plays, especially when they're so electric, like Malik. I mean, he is extremely fast and elusive when he gets free.
You mentioned kind of being a little ticked off after the game. I feel like Will has that similar strive for perfection. I don't know what the right word is, but how do you see his drive just when we aren't watching him?
Yeah, I love it. I love the competitive nature that he has, and he. Listen to me. He has to control it a lot better. I mean, I'm joking, making fun of myself, but you can't hide it sometimes. And he's competitive, but. What I love about him is nothing's, he's going to get pissed, but nothing's going to rattle him. He's going to get right back in there and not flinch. I mean, he'll come right back and run it again or throw a pass, into some traffic, into a tough, tight window, and have confidence that he can make that throw. And he's bounced back. He's done it all year. He's getting better and better. And I think he's managing those emotions better and better.
You talk a lot about developing guys, getting them ready for the next level. One of your former players, Landon Young, made his first start yesterday for the Saints. Just what does that say about, as a rookie, you develop guys, they're ready to go when they need to be called, from season one?
It says a lot. I'm so proud of him. I knew that he would play in the NFL for a long time, and no matter where he was drafted, no matter what round, I think the Saints are very smart with drafting him where they did. And I got a message from his father, Randall, the night before that he was making his first start, and he was very excited and happy. And unfortunately, I was working. I didn't even get a chance to see it, but we're proud of him, and it doesn't surprise me. I feel like he's a guy that'll play in the NFL for a long time.
After the game Saturday, that Louisville didn't really recruit him at all. That's been a topic of conversation for their fans about in-state recruiting. What do you just see as the kind of general state of recruiting the high school players?
I have no control over really what what they do as far as who they pursue and who they do not. And that has no effect on me at all. We do what we do, and maybe we have something to do with the outcome of certain recruits, but we've done very well, but we haven't been 100%. They've beat us as well a little bit, and we want to get the ones we're shooting for. So in-state's important. It always starts with us in-state, and we pride ourselves on getting out there and hitting the pavement and getting to know guys early and trying to identify them and get on them. But I don't know. That's their issue whether they did or didn't.
On that note, like with Wandale, he's a guy that you build this big relationship with, and
That's the way we've always done things. You know, we've done that before we knew anything about this thing called the portal. You know, that's just the way we built our relationships, and we're that way. And give them a handshake and wish them the best. I mean, it's still, I can't act like it doesn't, aggravate, or hurt you, or bother you. I was going to use the word pissed off again, but I've been using that a lot. You know what I mean? But when you don't get a guy, I mean, it's still, recruiting is personal. Anybody that says it's not, that they're not working at it, because when you spend years building relationship and years and time away from family and doing things to build those relationships, get those kids, I mean, it's competitive, and you want to land them.
Just speaking of generally, there's only a couple weeks left till signing day. How do you think this group you're kind of teeing up can stack up some of your other prospects?
I think it's going to be dynamic. I think it'll be a little lower in numbers. You do have to keep some room with the portal and with guys where you feel like you need some plug and play guys. And so, development, recruiting in high school, recruiting and developing those players will always be the lifeblood of our program, but you have to also manage your roster. And, we have some players on our roster that have to look around and see if they could play somewhere else, and we have to bring in some guys that we feel like can plug in and play at certain positions. That's just the way it is now.
Recruiting, what's your message to guys right now as your name keeps getting attached to other jobs out there?
I mean, my relationship is strong with the prospects, and it always will be. And I can't control that. I have no control over that. I'm not, I don't want that out there. I don't want that distraction. I don't ask for that. As I mentioned jokingly weeks ago when somebody mentioned that, I mean, I'd rather it be that than you guys all talking about when they're going to fire me. So I could only control, trying to win and build a program here. And I think we all can understand, I've been nothing but committed to doing that here and plan on doing that.
You're recruiting yourself in the football program.
Good. I'm sorry, he'd been waiting. John. Yeah.
Back to recruiting for a second. I saw where Kirby said if you're not out recruiting, somebody else is. It's been a few years now since the early signing day. How do you balance, and have you made changes in any balance in preparing for opponents, but also being out there recruiting?
Yeah, you have to. You have to. It's just the way it is. With being in college, we recruit all year. That never stops. It's always a priority. In season, it's hard, but you have to do it. And we've had quite a few in-season visits. That used to be mostly December. When you get done with games and you bring them in, and we have two big weekends. The first weekend in December and the second. And some kids that are committed, we bring them in there on purpose. They may come into games and come unofficially and still see us, but we bring them in December to kind of have a celebratory weekend where we could honestly spend 48 hours with them. If you come in season, we're obviously preparing for games, and that's where the distraction comes in for us, because we're really honed in on getting ready for a game, but you're splitting time, maybe going to dinner, going to lunch, spending time, and it gets a bit distracting, and you feel like you can't give the prospect as much of your individual attention. And so that's where, but there's no getting around it anymore. With the early signing period, you have to have in-season visits, and that is, time-consuming and hard, but you have to do it.
Through trial and error, have you changed anything in your approach since this started?
I think that is a big piece of it. You have to have in season. You have to have summer visits. And, if you have summer visits, then you got to hold them, because then the prospects get bored and they're going to go on another visit. You know what I mean? So, so you have to manage all that, so that's a feel thing for each individual recruit.
How much emphasis do you put on UK as an academic institution when you're out there recruiting, as opposed to the emphasis on the football program?
It's always equal. It's always extremely important. That's always a big part of our, recruiting pitch, and really not so much pitch, our presentation. And when they come in and they meet the people and see what we do and see the commitment that we have to it, that's a big piece of it.
Go back to your point about the
Yeah, great point. I think, for them, it'll be, being introduced to this rivalry once again. But you also have to, understand it, but it is another game. We have to go out there and execute. As I've mentioned many times, everybody wants to win on Saturday. So, like, being all mad at Louisville isn't going to help us win the game. Our preparation this week and being very detailed and prepared for the game, and then going out and executing, that'll help us win the game. So, showing up and rah is only going to get you so far. It's about how if you're that motivated, how motivated are you today and tomorrow when it's a heavy Tuesday practice and it's physical and it's hard and we're banging. How dialed in are you going to be on Tuesday and Wednesday, and keep it that way the whole week.
What does this week always be in Thanksgiving week? How does that affect preparation, just over the years, kind of from what you've observed over the years?
Not much, other than we'll get done a little earlier on Thursday than we normally do, and that's our walkthrough day anyway. So, for the coaches, I wouldn't say all the hay's in the barn by Thursday morning, but 95% of it better be in the barn. So there's tweaks, there's things we do all the way through, and really just maybe dressing it up, refreshing, having the players completely understand, things. That's why mentally it's so important on Thursday and Friday. But a lot of the physical things and all the game planning is done Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And, some third down tweaks and things go into Wednesday night as well. And then we brush it all up Thursday and Friday. So it doesn't have to change it too much for us. As I mentioned before, we try to, the coaches have players over their homes Wednesday night just to spend time so the players can feel some, get a home cooked meal and spend some time with the families. And then Thursday we have a big dinner together. And then, like I said, most of them hopefully go home and get some rest.
Mark, since Eli Cox got hurt, how have you evaluated play of Austin Johnson?
Austin has done some really good things. He's really physical at times, and he's good at certain, certain blocking schemes, and sometimes, things are challenging, but that's no different than a lot of our offensive linemen. You know what I mean? Depending on certain islands you have to be on with very good and athletic people, could be tough matchups at times, depending on what's coming at you, what blitzes, what pressures. Certain one-on-ones are hard on a lot of people. But he battles. He's been a great teammate for a long time, and so I appreciate the effort that he's given.
How did Jagger got his first kind of real rest there? What did he look like?
Yeah, Jagger did good, and he probably, I wanted to play him more. We had planned on playing him more, but they were doing so much. They were bringing stuff from everywhere, and so that's hard for a guard, for a true freshman guard, because things happen very fast in there, and so that was one that we had planned on playing more, but due to so much activity going on in there earlier, it just wasn't the right moment. But once we got him in there, it was good to get him some reps.
Well, are you going to get after this next game because of Louisville, or because this is simply the next game?
Pardon me? Are we?
Are you going to get after Louisville because it is
Yeah.
Louisville, or because it's the next game?
Well, I think the answer before I say it. I mean, that the next game's the most important because it's the next game. I mean, that's the way you have to approach it. If you don't, I can't sit there and preach to my team about respecting the game if I don't. So, believe me, in this business, you got a chance to get humbled every 7 days, and you take every opportunity and every day to prepare yourself for Saturday, and that's what we're going to do.
Thanksgiving week, just what are you thankful for as the head coach here?
Yeah, thanks for telling me that. I was supposed to open with that. That was all my opening thoughts, and just Thanksgiving week, and just appreciate, this year, all the work you all have done. Appreciate our team, our coaches, our staff, my family, it's been we're blessed, and we have a great opportunity here this week. So I hope you all enjoy the week and have a great day.
Is there anybody on this team, I would imagine leadership's always important, but especially in a rivalry game. Has anybody stepped up and been a leader for you that maybe you weren't expecting to be this year?
I don't know.
Maybe matured in that area?
Well, I think a guy like Marquand becoming a captain is a great example of that. Him playing well and maturing, that's to be expected. That's what we talk about all the time and work hard at. But for him to be voted a captain was it was great to see.
He went through what he had to go through with the injury last year compared to, is that sort of, would he have handled it as well maybe?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure he would or he wouldn't, but he always helps me out at the end of every, just about every day when I'm breaking the team down and talking to him for a bit after practice. He always wraps it up with, "Now hit them books," you know what I mean, to the rest of the players. So he's an experienced veteran now, so he's got it.
After the game Saturday, JJ is still kind of dealing with some of the lingering effects of that injury. Just have you seen his development overall from, I know right before he got hurt, you all thought he was, one of your best defenders, right?
He's going to be, he's doing a remarkable job, and he's playing through everything he can. Again, we're not going to let him re-injure that thing, and we're not going to let him play with injury. But there comes, some setbacks at times with that because of the strength and the mobility and all those things. So he's obviously not back to 100%. I think it's very difficult from a knee injury like that. But I greatly appreciate how hard he plays and the way he's fought through it, and he's helped us. He's still a very good player for us. I can't wait till he gets back to that elite level again.
Back with because of the rush.
Mm-hmm.
Made some connections. How does that? You said it would bring a lot of people from a lot of different areas and whatever. How does it relate to what Louisville, how Louisville plays? I mean, is there a connection there, maybe?
Yeah, I believe, Lonnie, that that's what you're trying to ask. Are you trying to compare him to Malik or just what they do defensively, you mean? The two together. Well, I mean, Louisville plays extremely hard. I mean, they're going to come after you. They mix it up. They're a lot like us. They'll play zone. They'll play man. They, bring a variety of different pressures, and they'll try to mix it up on him. With Will and with Malik, that's a feel thing. They're both very good at what they do, and a lot of that is God-given ability to feel the pressure or where to escape to and where to buy the time and when to buy time to look down the field and create for receivers and when to pull it down and scramble for yards. So they're both going to do their thing, both very good players and both very tough to stop at times, with the way they can ad-lib and create. Yeah, KD's doing some good things. He's another young man that you hear me talk often about, like a broken record, but reps and experience is very important to him. The more he gets, the better he's going to get, and so he's a guy that we got to continue to get as many reps as we can. And but he does have some ability.
Mark, you've talked about turnovers off and on all year long. Here you are going into the 12th game, still dealing with it. At this point, is it more mental than physical? And as coaches, do you deal with that any differently if you believe it's mental?
Well, I think, even in the game, I always talk about every situation is different. I mean, turnovers are different, as well. I mean, one was, at the end of a game with a guy that was not played very many snaps all year, the interception sometimes is going to happen. There was a play earlier where we talked about it. We were like, put it on him. Well, he put it on him the next time, and the defender made a nice play and undercut him. And then with the fumble with Chris's, again, I'm not going to overthink it because I know Chris. He's mature enough to understand. You know what I mean? And he'll get coached by Coach Settle and Liam and all the coaches, and we'll get it corrected, and he'll be dialed in. I can promise you that, and he'll get it fixed. You know, he has, you know, by and large, for the most part, you know, once we got through some of that early in the season. And so, you know, it's very important, but you hope it evens out at some point in time, too. Again, the ball was on the ground a couple times Saturday, and we missed one or two, and we almost passed on the other one. So,
Well, after Saturday's game, what was the big factor you think that played a role in you guys winning?
pardon me?
What was the big factor that played a role in you guys winning this past Saturday?
We had 700 and some yards to their 200, and you know, so I think we pretty much controlled the game.
Yeah, last one, John.
Yeah.
Back to the turnovers for a second. And I'm showing my age here, but I can remember when defenses didn't grab and punch the ball because the main thing was to get the guy down, and they thought that would give up extra yards if they didn't do it. Now everybody punches at the ball, grabs at the ball, especially if the guy's got a fumbling history. When did that change, and what do you think?
Yeah, it still doesn't, you know, change, John. I think there's a time when you could punch and strip or try to do both, and there's a time when we're still coaching that, like, get the man down. Like, don't try to strip and give up 5, 6, 7 extra yards. You know, there's a time and a place for it. And so we all coach the punch, the strip, but you can't, like I tell the players, there's so many different situations. You can't possibly teach them every one of them. You know, they have to have some football IQ and understand, you know, when that time and place is. Now, there are players that hold the ball loose, you know, in certain times, and we do address that and talk about that. And as we tell our offensive players, when you're putting the ball on the ground, what do you think every opponent is telling them? Every opponent is sitting there talking about how they're loose with the ball. So we better get it coached up, and they got to get it fixed. They got to execute it. And so, and then, you know, with your question, I believe there's times, you know, when you're held up, when you got a guy held up, you always want the second man through to strip or try to punch it out. And sometimes in the open field, you'll see that because you see a guy running with the ball loose instead of high and tight, you know. So it's just, you know, a lot of it is just being a ball player. A lot of it is obviously coached, but it's instincts in being a ball player as well.
Okay, folks, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And reminder, tomorrow will be